We are surrounded by information, yet increasingly lacking in wisdom. We've learned to conquer the world but not to govern ourselves. In this modern paradox, where technology advances while ethics fades, Confucius rises not as a relic of the past but as an urgent necessity. Confucius didn't come to found a religion. He didn't promise salvation in another world. What he offered was something even more essential, a way to live with dignity in the midst of chaos, to build harmony without violence, to shape character in a world that rewards indifference. More than 2,000 years later, his words not only endure, they transcend time. We're not here to study history. We're here to recover direction, because the philosophy of Confucius isn't a memory, it's a guide. If this message resonates with you, if, amid all the noise, you long for a guide with deep roots and clear principles, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. Here, we explore the teachings of Confucius not as ancient theory, but as living tools to face today's challenges. Reflection, ethics, and practical wisdom for those who still believe that living well is an art we must learn. Confucius was born in 551 before Christ, during a time when China was torn apart by internal wars, political corruption, and a deep loss of values. It was an era where rulers sought power over virtue, and violence was seen as a legitimate way to impose order. Amid that moral collapse, a man emerged, not with weapons or dogmas, but with principles. From a young age, Confucius understood that real change doesn't begin in government. It begins in the heart of the individual. That's why he devoted himself to teaching. He had no temples, only disciples. He promised no miracles, only inner discipline. In his own words, "At 15, I set my heart on learning. At 30, I found my path. At 40, I had no doubts. At 50, I understood the will of heaven." His life was far from easy. He faced rejection, exile, and indifference from those in power. But he never stopped teaching, because he believed that a single virtuous human being can transform their surroundings, that ethics is stronger than the sword, and that a life well lived is in itself an act of resistance. Confucius did not leave us a rigid system. He gave us a moral compass. At the heart of his philosophy lie 5 ethical pillars which are not merely rules, but living principles. 5 virtues that shape character, harmonize relationships, and sustain any society that seeks to be just. Ren, benevolence, humanity, compassion. Ren is the soul of Confucian thought. It is the ability to see others as equals, to act with kindness even when not required. In a world that values competition over care, Ren reminds us that true strength lies not in overpowering others, but in understanding, helping, and walking alongside them. Ren sees others not as obstacles, but as fellow human beings. Li, ritual, respect, proper conduct. Li goes beyond ceremonies. It speaks to the importance of gestures, everyday respect, and the forms that preserve harmony. In an age where everything feels fast and disposable, Li reminds us that civilization is built through small acts: how we greet, how we listen, how we show gratitude. When ritual is lost, order crumbles. Xiao, filial piety, family care. Xiao is the root of all ethics for Confucius. If we cannot respect those who gave us life, how can we respect anyone else? But Xiao is more than obedience. It is gratitude, care, responsibility. In a time where independence is often praised as the highest virtue, Xiao reminds us that we did not arrive in this world alone, nor can we thrive in emotional isolation. Yi, justice, moral integrity. Yi is doing what is right, even when it costs us. It means acting with integrity, even when no one is watching. Yi calls us not to bargain with our conscience. In a world where success often justifies any means, Yi teaches us that there are lines we must not cross, because when we do, we lose not just our values, but ourselves. Zhong, loyalty, consistency, mutual trust. Zhong is not blind obedience. It is fidelity to what is right and true. It means being trustworthy, acting with coherence, and honoring commitments even when it's hard. Confucius warned that Zhong only has value when guided by Yi. Loyalty to a corrupt authority is not virtue, it is complicity. That's why loyalty must always walk hand in hand with justice. These 5 pillars are not ideas to memorize. They are practices to live. Confucius did not preach perfection, but constant effort. No one lives these virtues all the time, but each sincere attempt to live by them is already an act of transformation, personal, familial, and social. Confucius didn't speak of saints, heroes, or enlightened beings. He spoke of the Junzi, literally, the son of a nobleman, but over time this became an ethical ideal accessible to anyone, a person who cultivates themselves, who seeks to live with integrity, respect, and wisdom. The Junzi is not born, they are formed, not defined by birth or title but by character. A Junzi does not act out of self-interest but from principle. They govern themselves before trying to govern others. They learn from their mistakes, listen more than they speak, and act with restraint, even when they have the power to impose their will. Confucius taught that the goal of education is not to accumulate knowledge, but to shape Junzis, people who make goodness a habit and justice a natural reflex. In a world obsessed with having, the Junzi reminds us of the value of being honest, being patient, being consistent. Today, more than ever, we need to recover this model, because the Junzi is not perfect, but they never stop growing. And when a society is filled with people who aspire to that inner nobility, change ceases to be a utopia. It becomes direction. For Confucius, governing was not a matter of power. It was a matter of virtue. A true leader is not one who demands obedience, but one who inspires respect, one who leads not through fear, but by example. That's why he taught, if the ruler is just, who would dare to be unjust? Ethics and politics, for Confucius, were inseparable. A ruler without moral integrity is a danger to the people. That's why he insisted that only those who cultivated their character and lived with uprightness should hold authority. It wasn't about social class, it was about virtue. A wise farmer was more fit to govern than a corrupt nobleman. This principle was known as renang, benevolent government. A system where leaders saw themselves as servants of the common good, not as masters, where compassion and justice mattered more than efficiency or control. In this model, the respect of the people was not demanded, it was earned. But Confucius was also clear about something else. When power betrays virtue, the people have the right to resist. He called this gan, righteous resistance, not rebellion for ambition, but defense of principle. Because true loyalty is not blind obedience. It is the courage to defend ethics, even against authority. In times when many leaders prioritize image over integrity, Confucian thought is a necessary provocation. It reminds us that no society can remain healthy without moral leadership, and that politics should not be the art of gaining power, but the art of deserving it. Like any philosophy that has endured through the centuries, Confucianism is not without its critics. Its emphasis on hierarchy and duty has sometimes been viewed as rigid or incompatible with modern values like equality and individual freedom. Some argue that it may perpetuate power structures that resist social change. It has also been accused of stifling creativity and dissent by prioritizing harmony over conflict. However, many of these critiques arise from superficial or decontextualized readings. What matters is not copying ancient China, but rescuing what is universal within it. The value of mutual respect, the importance of personal example, and the idea that without ethics, there is no real freedom. Confucius did not call for blind submission. He called for coherence. And while his teachings were born in another era, his call to virtue continues to challenge our most personal choices today. In times of uncertainty, looking back isn't a step backward. It's a way to remember where we come from so we can know where to go. The philosophy of Confucius doesn't offer shortcuts or magical solutions, but it offers something more valuable: solid principles for building a meaningful life. You don't need to be a philosopher or live in ancient China. All it takes is choosing one principle, just one: Ren, Li, Xiao, Yi, or Zhong, and beginning to live it today in your words, your decisions, and how you relate to others. Because the transformation of a society doesn't begin with laws. It begins with people who decide to become better. And that decision is now in your hands. If this reflection resonated with you, subscribe to this channel. Here, we continue to explore the teachings of Confucius as living tools to navigate the present, with more awareness, more balance, and more humanity. Thank you for being here. May your path be guided by virtue, and may each day be an opportunity to build harmony from within.